IDW Sonic Comic Issue 7. We started with Sonic on the wing of Tails' plane, asking how that giant airship hasn't shown up on the radar. Yeah, how? We might never know. He knows it doesn't make sense, so why is it the case anyways? Tails says that the bases the heroes have raided haven't found leads, but if the Egg Fleet is still performing, they have to get their orders from somewhere. Still performing? I thought the Egg Fleet was doing stuff for the first time ever when it was launched at the end of the last issue. I thought IDW was doing something original for once and having its Heroes adaptation take place after Forces. It's not crazy, because the reboot had the Unleashed story take place after Colors was supposed to have. Why would there be another group of airships called the Egg Fleet made after the original Egg Fleet were taken down? Wouldn't they at least be called the Egg Fleet 2? Like how the Death Egg Mark II is named that? Eggman doesn't tend to reuse names after his inventions get destroyed. This actually confused me enough to make me look at the timeline of IDW for the first time to see if I missed an issue. And I hadn't. I got confused because Tails is talking as if he already knows the name of the Egg Fleet, when Big Eggman Metal Sonic hadn't told him it yet. And Sonic started out the story already met up with Tails. As if I missed the story where Sonic went back to Tails when he was helping the locals rebuild their town and got to his plane with them, after seeing the Egg Fleet in the sky. Normally I can commend this writer cutting out potential padding, but at this point I'm so used to the slow pacing of his work that I got confused at the story starting out meter res. If there's any padding in the issue at all, I wish it had been replaced with a proper beginning for the story. Cause Sonic wasn't with Tails last issue. Tails gives Sonic his Sonic Colors tablet. Oh right, it's called the Miles Electric. Every machine uses electricity, so no wonder that name's forgettable. If it's to be like the games to be easy for newcomers to get into, there should at least be a text box saying, "This is called the Miles Electric," but whatever. He tells Sonic to connect it to the first computer he finds and download all he can. That sounds like something Sally used to do. I have to wonder why Tails waited until now to tell Sonic to do this. What if Tails' plan had been shot down before he could have handed Sonic the Miles Electric and told him what to do? He should have thought of that. I figure it would be standard procedure for people to go over the plan first and then take off on the mission. Also, I'm waiting for the plane to get shot at any minute now, because that's what happened in Sonic Adventure. Tails wants to find some answers by analyzing the data from the egg carrier thing. Sonic asks what to plug in and what button to push, and Tails says he customized it to have universal Wi-Fi accessibility, so he just has to hit the go button, which is hopefully labeled or that instruction won't help him either. I guess the way it has universal access to Wi-Fi is that it figures out with AI how to hack into anyone's Wi-Fi and borrow it, even Eggman's. Good thing Tails is a good guy. You'd think after all the time he's known Tails, he would have had Tails teach him how to use the Miles Electric instead of him needing to know which button to press. You'd think Tails would have taught him what all the buttons did the first time he showed him the Miles Electric. But I guess the point is that Sonic is so not a computer guy that he forgot after the first time, and Tails didn't feel like telling him all that again. It's nice of Sonic to say he thinks of everything. I like that after Sonic jumps towards the airship, I get to see him grabbing onto a pole of it and he spins around it to slide down. I guess the spinning around it was supposed to be what extended his momentum from the fall to slow it down. And combine that with the friction from him holding the pole and sliding down it, and that actually tries to justify him not getting injured from the high fall. It slowed his fall down to a crawl. But I still have to wonder why Tails didn't simply land the plane and let him jump off it from the airship itself, like in SA1, instead of taking such a risk. It worked out in SA1. At least Sonic has a new plan on the egg carrier, but the story isn't really contributing much to the franchise by having a recycled setting. Sonic quickly makes his way to Metal Sonic, with nothing interesting happening until he gets there. I'm glad he was all alone, because it spared us boring dialogues that just went through the place quickly. Then he immediately figures out that this has to be a fake Eggman, having complete faith in Eggman who have not given up his Mr. Tinkerack to get here. I think his logic is that he couldn't have possibly gotten all the way to the Egg Fleet and launched himself with it from that village, because nobody saw the Egg Fleet land near that village, which would have attracted attention to him. It makes Sonic look refreshingly unexpectedly smart that he immediately knows what's up instead of the story having drama. Because the whole time I was expecting Mr. Tinker to be blamed, and I'm sure he could get him in trouble. I guess Sonic's gonna tell the people in Mr. Tinker's village that Metal Sonic has disguised himself as Eggman. So that drama's actually gonna be avoided. And the whole time Sonic's standing on Egg Pond. Why doesn't he do anything? It looks intact. I guess it's too scared of him to do anything. But I'd expect him to have completely destroyed it. Then the fake reveals itself to be Neo Metal Sonic. And Sonic references Sonic Heroes' events. So why didn't he immediately know that this had to be Metal Sonic, instead of asking who he was? Why is there a Neo Metal Sonic arc if it's not literally a Sonic Heroes adaptation? I hope they go through completely new settings and have an interesting story arc to make up for reusing a villain idea. This is more interesting than just doing Heroes again, but there's a reason I didn't expect that. Because it seems so derivative of Sonic Heroes to have Neo Metal Sonic again, like using the airship again. So why is Sonic saying all this in universe when they both know it, instead of just immediately attacking Metal Sonic? Is he just too scared? Since when is he too scared of the consequences to get into a fight? No, just stand there and do some reminiscing. You could interrupt Metal Sonic. Maybe he's hoping he'll tell him his plan, but he has no reason to tell him his plan. As far as Metal's concerned, it's not his business. So the really confusing thing is that Metal Sonic can shapeshift again. Everyone would have expected Eggman to get rid of the shapeshifting ability after Sonic Heroes had him use it. He disguised himself as a different generic robot in Sonic Free Riders, but we all figured the Riders series was an alternate continuity. He explains that Eggman repaired him after Heroes and removed the rebelliousness from his coding. He says Sonic knows this because they clashed since then. Then why is he saying that in universe? Eggman decided to upgrade him to Neo form again, and he was going to be his greatest weapon in the final battle. You'd think he'd go for a creative new spin on the Neo form instead of literally the exact same thing, considering that he associates Neo Metal Sonic with betrayal. But I guess Eggman felt like being really lazy that day. But Metal's upgrade was completed too late, just when Sonic Forces was done. So, can we just safely discard the false rumor that Metal Sonic's not allowed to talk? He's talking just fine here. When I thought IDW would be even more uncreative and come off as even more quote-unquote restrained than Archie Sonic. But he's talking when he didn't talk at all in Worlds Collide. So I assumed he wouldn't be talking at all, and that would be really boring. Maybe that so-called rule doesn't apply to Neo Metal Sonic, and that's why he's Neo Metal Sonic for no apparent reason. I thought he was plenty strong in his non-Neo form. He was certainly annoying to fight before that game, so I never understood the point of the Neo form. He could have a shape-shifting power without being Neo. How could he get any more powerful without all the emeralds? He could become slightly faster, but he was tough before. If Eggman wanted him to keep the shape-shifting power, you'd think he would make him frame Sonic with it, like, constantly. But instead, he never used it in the main series again, so of course everyone assumed he didn't have it anymore. It should have been explained that Metal Sonic gave himself the shape-shifting power again. He could have gotten a gem, downloaded the old data into him from a computer. Metal Sonic says out of nowhere that he had been given Eggman's bio data, his genius drive and vision. Wait, why? That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen for Eggman. Bio data sounds like consciousness, if anything. And while I'm instinctively expecting this to mean that Eggman died after Forces and his consciousness was teleported to Metal Sonic afterwards, I have to remind myself that this isn't Rick and Morty. So this comic doesn't even have that level of guts. Eggman transferred his consciousness to other bodies multiple times in Archie Sonic. But that's when he was a robot, so of course it wasn't seen as too dark. Does Metal literally mean that he was programmed to have Eggman's personality then? What's biodata supposed to mean other than brainwaves? He has no reason to make Metal Sonic smarter than a badnik if all he's there for is to kill Sonic. Why would he give him his personality? Why wouldn't he give all the badniks his brainwaves at that point? The last time I heard of a robot having Eggman's personality, it was in Fleetway, and that robot wanted to overthrow Eggman for himself. Why wasn't it immediately obvious to Eggman that that would happen? Because that's all Eggman's known for, is trying to take over the world. So it's obvious that giving someone personality that just wants to take over the world would have him want to do that. Why would he give Metal Sonic that after Sonic Heroes? I guess it makes sense that he convinced himself he'd be fine because he took the rebelliousness out of his coding. So he would want to serve him? That only makes sense if he also included programming to prevent rebelliousness from ever showing up again. Metal explains that he thinks the only one who can truly rule the Eggman Empire he serves is Eggman, so he wants to use his persona to ensure that his reign would remain unbroken. I'm still confused. Isn't this the kind of thing that would have been programmed out of him after Heroes? He's not serving Eggman here. He hasn't found him again yet. Only Eggman wants to be in this position. I guess he started doing this because he assumed Eggman died, and he thinks he's doing what Eggman would have wanted, running the planet how he would want it to be. He assumes Eggman would be fine with at least someone making sure the planet's run how he wants, even if it's not him. But he's not making sure places being run how he wants. I haven't been told that he's been literally taking over villages. So is there going to be an explanation that now that he knows Eggman's alive because of Sonic's big mouth, he plans to go get Eggman back and put him in his rightful place? Because if he's doing this for Eggman, he'd have to defer to Eggman if he was told to step down. Couldn't Sonic just tell him Eggman doesn't want him to do this anymore? He wouldn't believe him anyways, of course. Because he thinks Eggman doesn't know he's Eggman anymore, and can't give it away to him by showing him Metal Sonic, who he'd play dumb in front of. Sonic must know that. Metal actually does want to know where Eggman is so that I could hand over control of the world to him. That's new. It sure is nice of the people of Mr. Tinker's village to have all universally not taken pictures of Eggman there or posted on social media about him being there. You'd think Eggman's arrival there would have been talked about as soon as he was put in jail. When he first showed up, nobody thought he was harmless, so nobody would feel like keeping it a secret. Logically, the mayor would have contacted the federal government and gotten a gun to go pick him up after putting him in jail because he shouldn't just be in a measly village jail. But I guess I'm supposed to assume that Eggman's rule took down the internet because it was too annoying to restrict for him, and he's a jerk. Or Eggman's robots took down the internet themselves, like by accident. Were the phone lines and satellites taken down too? I guess you can't go contact the FBI or gun by looking them up in the phone book. It's weird to believe that a village in a world full of sentient robots wouldn't have the internet. But fine, that's the only possible way it can make sense that word wouldn't have gotten out about where Eggman is, that Metal Sonic could have immediately looked up on Google. I guess he didn't think to go to Google because he assumed Eggman was dead, but after this, all he's gonna have to do is do one Google search, and logically he'd find out what the village he's in right away. If the writing was good, it would have explained that there's no internet right now, and I wouldn't have to figure it out for myself while being too confused to enjoy the story. Because you'd think a robot with power over an egg fleet and entire robot armies would be able to get internet access like everybody else. He has a computer. Instead of Sonic saying that Eggman's acting good now, which would be a waste of time anyways, he says his one problem is that he's going to defeat him before he could do that. Which is also dumb because his attempt at a badass one-liner just telegraphs that he's going to start attacking him, when he could just spin dash at his chest right away. Really, Metal Sonic should consider it a miracle he let him talk this much. Sonic could have just assumed he was out for himself because he was being no different than Heroes. So he had no reason to think he had any other plan. So he would have just attacked him right away. But yeah, he has Eggman's bio data out of nowhere. It explains why he tried to take over the world in Heroes, but it'd make a lot more sense if he had Sonic's personality instead. Metal Sonic and Archie was like Sonic. If he was like Sonic, he'd have a personality that could be entertaining instead of him just being a serious generic bad guy. It's not new to have a robot with Eggman's personality. It's been done in Fleetway. And maybe even with the Egg Robo villain in Knuckles' story of Sonic 3. Wasn't that the whole reason he was being a bother? Then after Sonic attacks him, with the panels after the first hit not being satisfying because they're hard to understand and don't show any real impact, Sonic's bio data is successfully copied. That's redundant. I'd expect him to have had it in the first place. He's Metal Sonic. It's in the name. He by definition has Sonic's powers from the start. How do you screw that up? How could you forget that? Sonic then somehow stands there and asks for a do-over instead of spin dashing at him, so he gets kicked away like a total rookie. I hate that there is dust drawn on the floor of a metal airship. It doesn't make any sense. I get no satisfaction out of seeing these panels. I'm not seeing them spin dash directly at each other. What's with all the white light being drawn? Was Sonic trying to kick at him? Why wasn't his shoe drawn instead of light and words? Why would you censor a robot being attacked? Did Metal Sonic hit Sonic away there? I should have seen that drawn instead. This isn't an action scene that keeps me invested. It's one that really confuses me as I'm struggling to understand what's going on. Sonic has the humility to decide he can't handle fighting him and should bail. That was quick. I wish his thought bubble explained why. Instead of all that boring reiteration at the top of the thought bubble, he should have been saying that, of course, he's having trouble because he's in a cramped room that doesn't let him take advantage of his speed as much. And already Metal Sonic can just hit him away because he's fast and strong too. So, why didn't Sonic get injured from jumping through the window? I guess he jumped through it feet first, and his shoes are pretty tough. And he has rings to spare. Metal calls him a coward as he runs outside, and tells the batteries on the landing strip to fire. And they immediately do, because I guess they're voice activated. But then he turns around and tells the robots that he wants Sonic alive. What the hell? How would he expect Sonic to survive getting hit by those explosions? He suddenly changed his mind and wants Sonic alive? Did he get the idea that he could put a cybernetic with a bomb in it in Sonic? Or roboticize him and use them? Because the only reason he logically wanted him alive at all costs is to make use of him. But then again, Eggman's not always logical. Forces started with Eggman having Sonic captured instead of killing him. And he planned on showing Sonic how much he changed the world months later to bother him with it. So he let his dumb sadism get in the way of guaranteeing a victory over Sonic, as he could have just killed him in all that time. Sonic thankfully lampshades that if Metal wants him alive, he's bad at showing it. And he avoids an explosion and eventually, grabs an orange thing and then gets surrounded by an orange circle, and then throws something orange at something. I guess that's the art's pitiful attempt at showing us Sonic grabbing and spinning an egg pollen around him. You'd think Sonic would have simply homie attacked all of them, but I can't really remember using the homie attack outside the games. And granted it makes no actual sense, but neither does his super speed and it not killing him. He could have spin dashed around all of them. It was interesting to see, but I was mostly too confused to try to understand what I was seeing to appreciate it. Then there's a sound effect and a flash of lights drawn on Sonic's shoulder as Metal Sonic shows up behind him, and I see his blue arm looking blurry near Metal's head. Would it have killed the artist to have drawn this correctly? What was so hard about drawing his hand actually impacting Sonic? This just takes me out of it as it takes seconds to understand what the picture is telling me. And pictures like that don't keep you invested in an action scene, they annoy you. He grabs Sonic and tries to get him to tell him where Eggman is. Sonic bravely points out that if he kills him, he'll never know anyways. Yeah, but he could injure him until he talks. Metal says he'll never stop trying to find Eggman, even if he has to sift through the world to ashes. What a needlessly dark line for a kids' comic that's too scared to show his impact in the fight scenes. So why doesn't Tails come in with his plane and save him by now? He kicks him and gets himself to fall. Because he expects Tails to catch him on the plane, and he does. Tails was just waiting for him to let go of him. Why did he say he wanted Sonic alive if he was going to throw him off the airship anyways? I guess because he was still holding out hope that Sonic would tell him where Eggman is. Which was stupid of him to hope. I guess Sonic lost rings when he landed on the wing of the plane, and the rings protected him from instantly dying from landing on it. And he didn't land on it with enough speed that the force of it would make the plane get sent down and break off the wing entirely. Which could make sense if he wasn't falling for very long. How hard is it to explain that Sonic had rings at that point? He didn't land on a pillow. Either he collected more invisible rings after Metal Sonic hit him, or he doesn't lose all of his rings at once. Metal can't blast the plane because the airship's too damaged. And he admits that Sonic did a good job. He says that he's won because he knows Eggman's alive from Sonic, while Sonic's learned nothing about his plans. I guess what he means is he didn't learn Metal Sonic's next destination, because he pretty clearly told him that his plan was to find Eggman. If Tails was a really competent engineer, he would make a sort of egg carrier of his own to shoot down the egg fleet from the sky. But I guess the logic is that it'd take way too long because an egg carrier is so huge. And the tornado is so small that it would run out of ammo or energy long before it gets to a fully shoot down egg carrier. And there's a whole fleet of them. Too bad for Tails he can't go to a pocket dimension where time passes differently to make inventions in the blink of an eye from Sonic's perspective. He's not skilled enough to get to one of those places. I wish I saw Tails say that he's going to bring Sonic to Resistance HQ after this, instead of Metal Sonic's panel where he just states the obvious trying to intimidate us. Because it's confusing to see Sonic with the Resistance when he didn't want to come back to them. He made such a big stink out of that with Amy, and he just casually comes here anyways without justifying it first. What's in it for him? We're not even being shown him eating a chili dog. So he wasn't bribed with that. I guess he assumes he needs their help figuring out where the egg fleet's heading for next. Why doesn't he just ask for a cell phone, so they could call him when they'd find out where it's going to attack? And why didn't he tell Tails to tell the Resistance what happened for him? He doesn't have to go to Amy himself. Sonic apparently has to be asked if he got the chance to download any data, when just one panel ago, he was telling Amy the end of what he had been through. So you'd assume he got to tell Amy everything. Wouldn't she know that he hadn't gotten the chance to do that? How was she not paying attention? It was polite of Sonic to apologize. Also, Amy asked if Metal told Sonic what his plans were, and Sonic just says nope. I guess she means which village is he gonna attack next. But come on, didn't Sonic tell her he wanted to look for Eggman when he was telling her everything that happened? That's one of his plans. She should have been ready to just say what village is he heading for next. Couldn't Tails remember where the Egg Fleet was headed and where it was, and figure it out for himself? So he'd say what its destination was. Like, he could have looked at the Miles Electric and figured out where it was headed. Knuckles tells Tails to just savor the small victories, and he agrees to. It's weird to think of Metal Sonic as a mad genius. I never thought of him as being any more intelligent than Sonic, when he's a robot based on Sonic. It kinda makes sense that Eggman would hate Sonic too much to make his robot like Sonic in personality. It's just completely unintuitive because he's called Metal Sonic, not Metal Eggman. Sonic hopes he can find a record of Eggman's old plans, and Knuckles hopes he can find out what leftover plan Neo's trying to finish. What the hell? He's not trying to finish any leftover plans of Eggman? I guess he would want to do that if he's that loyal to his creator, but there was no mention of that. They're just coming to this idea out of nowhere, out of a desperation to do something. But you'd think they'd be occupying themselves with trying to get to the next village that the Egg Fleet is heading for, and protect it from what's obviously going to be the next plan of his. It makes sense if Knuckles said this after finding out the Metal was, in fact, carrying out... All he's been doing is sending robots after villages, not carrying out a leftover plan of Eggman's. And apparently sending robots after villages has been a mission to search for Eggman all along. You'd think he would have sent messages to the villages saying they won't bother them anymore if they let themselves be run by him, as well as sending robots to them. There's no reason not to if he's ruling them for Eggman, because Eggman could come back to the villages to run them after he got him back. Amy says that she'll put the call out to the rest of her friends so they can find out what's going on before it's too late with all of them looking. Metal already told Sonic what's going on, and how is she gonna put a call out to them? Do people have the internet after all? Do they have cell phones after all? If so, then Tails should have had a cell phone in his plane. He'd know the direction it was last heading in because he has eyes. Isn't it really obvious he needs to go ahead of it and protect the closest village as fast as possible? Hopefully that's the plan. They just go off on a complete tangent instead when all they've been shown to care about recently is defending villages. Though I'm assuming the Egg Fleet will keep flying ahead in the direction it was heading earlier, but why wouldn't it? The quickest path to anywhere is a straight line, so why would the Egg Fleet make a turn? It could fly above any mountains. Sonic sure is confident to insist that it'll always be faster than Metal, who probably is supposed to be just as fast. And in fact, wouldn't his Neo form be faster than him? It's really cheesy to see Sonic encourage his friends to put their hands together and yell out victory when he abandoned the Resistance for doing what he called cleanup. Suddenly he's really close friends with them? I thought he was established to be a loner. And then he was nice to everyone but Amy, even being great friends with Knuckles. So he just wanted to stay away from Amy. Why is he letting Amy join in on this instead of not wanting to be in the same room as her? He treated her like he hated her last time. So it's so weird and jarring to see him be fine with her now. They're all acting like he's been with the Resistance for months and there's no consequences to him leaving them to fend for themselves whatsoever. My point is, Sonic's supposed to be cool if nothing else, so why the hell was he acting like this? Like, you'd expect Tails to be the one encouraging this to happen. They don't have a real victory to celebrate. The story ends with the egg carrier reaching the Master Emerald because it was stupidly left unguarded in a giant idiot ball. Tails could have followed him here in his plane and defended the Master Emerald. The tornado made its presence around the egg carrier known by saving Sonic, and then had to flee from it to take him home. Except it was rendered incapable of firing. I'd expect Metal to have caught the tornado on a radar right away, and I was expecting it to have to dodge fire shot at it, like in SA1's Sky Chase. And that somehow never happened. Maybe his plane was dodging fire at it the entire story, and avoided any damage the whole time. But Metal should have known Sonic would be saved by the tornado if it was spotted, and the tornado had to be how Sonic got to the egg carrier, because he can't fly. I guess while it was caught on radar and seen by a robot in front of said radar, Metal Sonic was told about it, but forgot all about the tornado at the end of the story because he only considered Sonic. Maybe Tails' plane would be caught on radar a second time, and this time Metal would be informed of it if he tried to follow the egg fleet again, and fly after Tails since it can't shoot anymore. And Tails assumes that would happen, so he doesn't want to try it. And I guess by this point the tornado is so far away from the egg fleet that it can't catch up to it. You know what would be really smart of Tails? If in all the time that he was waiting for Sonic to come back to his plane, he put a tracking device on that airship. So the heroes would know it went to Angel Island and know it was heading for it ahead of time. But I guess they wouldn't be able to catch up to it. Here's the problem. Why the hell did Tails and Sonic prioritize going all the way to Resistance HQ and telling Amy what happened, over calling them on a cell phone or something to tell them what happened? Everyone in real life has a cell phone. Why would a genius engineer like Tails not call his friends on one? Amy contacted Sonic with the Miles Electric in Lost World. Why didn't Tails contact Amy with the Miles Electric? He could fly in the same direction that it's headed and just be flying the plane far enough away from it that it wouldn't be detecting him anymore. He could keep following it, technically, by going where it's going, and be able to see where it is just by looking to the side, while his tiny little biplane wouldn't be seen by it. He could be flying as far to the side of it as possible while still being able to see it, and flying the same direction it's headed. If Tails was really smart, he would have followed it to Angel Island and gotten there at the same time. He can communicate with Sonic over long distances to tell him stuff in SA2, and the Time Eater. There's no excuse that, oh, he didn't think about that in the heat of the moment, because I'm sure he had plenty of time to consider a different course of action than flying to Amy directly, when he was flying home in the plane. But I think he'd be slightly more interested in getting ahead of the egg fleet instead of abandoning it to do whatever it wants. If Sonic had such a problem with Amy last time, why wouldn't he have insisted on getting off the plane in the village that was closest to the egg fleet's line of fire to protect it later? Of course, Sonic had to bail on the egg carrier itself, implying that he thought he couldn't stop Metal Sonic himself. But that was in a cramped room where he couldn't use his speed well, and Metal was being confronted in a physical fight. That's different from Sonic running up to Master Emerald, and I guess he and Tails aren't strong enough to pick it up and carry it anywhere. Maybe it's been so long since Sonic 3 that of course Tails' plane would have lost the Master Emerald magnet by then. But Sonic and Tails could shatter the Master Emerald before Metal would get at it. We saw in SA1 and 2 that the shards of the Emerald magically teleport to other places when the Emerald is shattered. Does it have to be Knuckles doing that? No, Knuckles didn't shatter in SA1. My point is, Metal getting the Master Emerald could have very easily been avoided, so there's no excuse for it happening. By not flying after Tails' plane immediately after Sonic came back to it, Metal Sonic proved that he cared more about staying on the egg carrier than flying after them himself. So Tails should have learned from this and realized that he's not going to go after them if he flies after the egg fleet. He could have Sonic looking back at Metal Sonic the whole time he was flying away from it, and as soon as Metal Sonic wasn't looking at the plane anymore, he could tell Tails, and then Tails would start following it again. So Metal getting the Master Emerald could have easily been avoided. Speaking of that, you'd think that in all the time with the Resistance, Knuckles would have brought the Master Emerald to Resistance HQ. There's no indication that Angel Island was damaged when it fell in SA1, so why not let it fall again? Well, it'll be obvious from the island being on the sea that the Emerald has to be in Knuckles' new home instead. It could still be guarded by Knuckles anyways. It could be kept in Knuckles' room, and no sane person would go in Knuckles' room. If he wasn't known for being so stubborn about being the only one to guard it, I wonder why he hasn't given the Master Emerald to Gun to hide by now, and there's no reason not to trust him with it. Gun never did anything bad to him. But the reboot already went over that. He's too stupid to even try it. That would change the status quo from the games. So even though the games have a bad status quo, we can't change it even a little bit. So seeing this is much more frustrating than intimidating. It just gets me mad at Knuckles because this could have very easily been avoided. I get that it would have gotten used to Eggman ignoring the Master Emerald and not trying to take it. There never seemed to be any evidence of him being with Sonic or Amy in Heroes, Lost World, 06, and Forces ever backfired. Still, if he was going to leave Angel Island for what would clearly be a long time, there was absolutely no way that it would have been believable that he wouldn't take the Emerald with him to his new residence. So this isn't a properly earned victory of Metal Sonic. It's just another instance of the drama being forced and therefore cheapened. It could be an earned victory of his, if Knuckles was realistically there to defend the Master Emerald. He could have gone to Resistance HQ where the Emerald would actually realistically be. Then he'd actually have no chance at getting it because Knuckles would reluctantly shatter the Emerald to keep it away from him. Well, once it's reported on that Angel Island fell, Knuckles would want to go after him. So he'd end up going to the egg carrier as easily as Sonic did and shattering the Emerald anyways. Knuckles has super strength. So logically, you should be able to get through an airship pathetically easily by just repeatedly punching to get down as far as he can, and by tearing apart anything in his way. In Sonic Underground, he could dig through the metal of the Death Egg, because of course, he has super strength. All this plan of Metal Sonic is going to do is provoke the heroes to stop procrastinating and send Knuckles at the egg carrier right away to inevitably destroy it single-handedly. I'm speaking logically here, not bad writing logic. Not only meta logic is the logic writing. Even Sonic Boom had Knuckles be strong enough to destroy an entire asteroid with a single punch. But I guess we're supposed to assume he was way stronger than every other Knuckles because he looks like it. But there's no proof Knuckles can't do that in every other continuity. He hasn't tried and failed. So he could smash the egg carrier if he could destroy an asteroid. I don't see why Metal Sonic can't lose his egg fleet and issue later to Knuckles. Why not? He's not any different from Eggman. Who cares about him being defeated quickly? He wouldn't literally be defeated from it because he can fly. So he'd go to the ground. He'd still run around towns looking for Eggman even without an egg fleet. So he'd still be a threat for a while. There's no reason to keep the egg carrier around and plan on defending every town it'll go after one at a time, instead of just trying to nip the problem in the bud and destroy the airship itself right away. It'd be much faster and much less work for the heroes. If Tails was really smart, he'd tell Sonic to bring a bomb with him so that he'd put it on the egg carrier and get it blown up. If Tails' little plane can't shoot it down from the air, why can't they use Knuckles to attack it directly? They've known it for such a long time. He only didn't destroy the egg carrier in SC1 because he was busy looking for the shards on it, and then it was about to crash anyways because of Sonic. Amy's gonna look like a horrible, stupid excuse for a leader if she isn't gonna end up sending Knuckles to smash up the egg carrier with his super strength. You'd think he demands to go there to get the Master Emerald back. It'd have to be assumed to be on the egg fleet, because where else would it go after being taken from Angel Island? I mean, who could have taken it? A random thief? Random thieves aren't strong enough to lift up the emerald, so it would require technology to steal it. Let me guess, Amy would refuse to let Knuckles go to the egg carrier and destroy it himself because she'd have no faith in him and insist it's too dangerous and say he's just one person. And even Sonic had to flee the egg carrier because Metal Sonic was just so scary. Never mind that he doesn't have to face Metal Sonic. He can be attacking the other side of the egg carrier. I guess if he started attacking the egg carrier, Metal Sonic wouldn't know he was attacking a part of the egg carrier because he's not aware of every single part of the egg carrier at all times. Any robots who would spot him would get destroyed before he could warn anybody. Never mind that no matter how many things were sent to Knuckles, he could easily smash them, and even if he'd have to escape a falling airship, Knuckles can glide to safety from any height and glide in any direction, and he'd be a small target, so on top of being able to glide in any direction and let himself fall down a bit, it'd be impossible to hit with the airship's weapons when he would have to get out of the airship. I guess if the egg carrier was falling, then Metal Sonic would have no reason not to fly after them. So he'd fly after Knuckles and Tails himself, No, he'd still be in the cockpit. Knuckles is fast. He'd only need a few seconds to smash the 8 carrier. He'd only need a minute at most. The robots won't know what's going on until he's already stumbled into the emerald and gone through the bottom of the airship. He'd just drill from the top of it to the bottom, only going through it in an effort to find the Master Emerald. Metal wouldn't know what's going on until it's too late, and by that point, Knuckles would already be falling to safety, and he'd be too small a target for Metal to find out where he is. Like, the heroes could have a teleporter so that Knuckles would be able to get home right after making the airship start falling. How is Metal Sonic supposed to know that it's Knuckles specifically that's attacking the airship? I guess it's smart for Amy to think that someone as fast as Metal Sonic would easily defeat Knuckles. Like, it doesn't matter what Amy says about how dangerous Metal Sonic is, Knuckles would want to get his Master Emerald back no matter what. This issue is by Ian Flynn, and Elason took until the end to really frustrate me. Sonic goes to the 8 carrier, again, and finally there's something a bit new, because Metal Sonic is in charge of it this time, and he's doing it to find Eggman to put him in charge. It makes sense that such a fast robot would hit him away all the time. Of course he'd anticipate Sonic's every attack. And maybe since he's Neo, his metal's really tough, so that he can't repeatedly spin dash at him to beat him. But the entire ending of the story was completely forced nonsense. Tails knows how to talk to his friends from long distance. He can do that with the Miles Electric. He would have obviously just called Amy on a cell phone or something to tell her what happened. He would have stayed in the plane and flew in the direction the Egg Fleet was heading after only flying away for a while to look like he's fleeing from it. Obviously, if Tails had a brain, he wouldn't have prioritized telling Amy what happened over getting to the Egg Fleet's destination before it, and protecting the place from it. This actually makes Amy's resistance idea look like a horrible idea, because if it weren't for her, Tails would have no reason to go to her, and Knuckles would be guarding the Master Emerald. Why isn't it with Knuckles? He could have his door locked. The windows and doors of the place would be locked. There's no excuse for Resistance HQ to be so easily penetratable that any thief could get into it at night. Resistance HQ probably gets attacked a lot, so nothing would really be different. And it's still standing. If Tails was smart, he'd have a security system for Resistance HQ. Even regular people's homes can have house alarms. Shouldn't Tails have made a giant robot to protect the Master Emerald by now? Or a force field generator to protect its pedestal from any threat? Why isn't anything built around the pedestal? It's just one game. Why does one game, SA1, why does that have to be the standard when it doesn't make any sense compared to this idea? If Knuckles doesn't care about protecting the Master Emerald at all times anymore, he shouldn't object to Tails making extra technological measures to protect it while he's not even there, which would be the first thing he should think about doing when Knuckles is here instead of guarding the Emerald. It doesn't matter that Knuckles might be opposed to it, because he wouldn't get to object if he wasn't even told about Tails' plan in the first place. He doesn't have to know about a security system for the Emerald if he's not there. Maybe I'm supposed to assume Tails was always too occupied with fighting robots and rebuilding towns to make stuff to protect Master Emerald. And the second he's told he has to go help a town, he goes to help in the heat of the moment. He just never has any time for inventing. He's not the only one who can fight robots, but he can... well, towns can rebuild themselves. They have people there to do that already. He should know it'd be far more needed to make a security system for the Emerald than to rebuild a town that would have construction workers in it.